We are live, Believe Nation. Happy Wednesday. Wednesday is my project day. So I spend the day working on whatever projects I want to grow my business forward. I like having one day per week that I get to spend on just whatever project I kind of want. But this is my break, and I'm going to go live with a special guest today and tell her story and see what she's up to. Give some advice along the way. And there she is.
Hi.
Hello, Emily. How are you?
I'm gonna have an honest moment with you. I'm actually feeling a little emotionally drained right now. So I'm
Okay.
out on the West Coast, and I don't think I've seen the sun in about 10 days. So,
It looked dark
yeah.
outside, but like I saw was that your window?
hmm
Look,
Yeah,
show
so
us
I have the
outside.
curtains.
Oh,
I have
okay,
the
got
curtains.
curtains
It's
up.
actually gotten better,
Okay.
but that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, crazy.
hmm
So
Yeah, and it's definitely gotten better over the past week, but it's still kind of a bummer, honestly.
I hear you. Well, this is great. Like we get to live actually go through because I mean background for everybody watching. Emily is Emily Curtis. She's representing Nebraska for Miss World America coming up. And I'm here to kind of coach and help with her story. But this is part of what people are going through right now, and I think this is actually the
Mhm.
opportunity for you to be real, not just with
Yeah.
me here, but with the judges in the actual competition,
Mhm.
um, to show what you're going through and how you're feeling. And it may not be the worst thing that's ever happened to you, but
Yeah.
it's still taking its toll. And that's the time for leaders to stand up and show up. Um,
hmm
anyway, so you went through the training. You saw me when we did our live session together.
Yeah.
How can I help? What do you got? What's on your mind?
Yeah. So my Beauty with a Purpose project is entitled Pretty Brilliant, Empowering Women in STEM. So science, technology, engineering for math for
Mm-hmm.
anybody who doesn't know. And I've been doing a lot of work over the past 10 years within that advocacy and within a bunch of organizations. But a lot of those organizations are filled with women in STEM. Like I feel like I'm preaching to the choir at this point. You
Okay.
know, as women in STEM, we know. Like I have an engineering degree, I worked as an engineer, and now I'm going back to school to be a nurse. And it's a night and day difference from those two programs. You know, when I was an engineer, I'd immediately walk into a classroom and realize I was different from everybody else. I had so many classes where I was the only female in a class of 50, 60 men, and then the professor was also a man. So I'd walk into a classroom and immediately have to feel like there's an extra hurdle to jump when I walked in that classroom. But now as a nurse, which is a predominantly female career, I have this amazing support network. And I feel it every single class, every single study session. And I feel like, and I can tell within my grades and within my confidence that I'm doing a lot better in this field.
Okay.
But I think I've been having a problem reaching people outside of STEM, because why should they like care about this? They're not women in STEM. They're not even in STEM. So why should they care about supporting women in STEM?
Right. Well, so that's the question to answer. Like,
hmm
why should people
Yeah.
care? So, this is great. So what's your answer to that question? Like, why should somebody care?
Yeah, and I think it comes back to all of us are impacted by science, technology, engineering, and math. Anything, like you can name anything. I mean, we could play a game and you could name something, and I could tell you how science or engineering has impacted the design or the research of it, and we all benefit from it, but women are so poorly represented within the STEM fields that I think we need to recognize that there's a lack of perspective happening within them to further progress engineering and research within science.
So you need to have something that kind of backs that up.
hmm
Some
So,
stats or something. Like why? Like,
mhm.
so why is science lacking because of not enough female involvement? I'm with you.
Yeah,
I get it. I
yeah,
agree. But to get people to actually care, it's saying, well, when women are involved, this happens, and when they're not, this happens, right? It's
hmm
like on the micro, it makes sense, and your story is amazing. and saying how you had no support system and now you do, and now you want to create the support system and network for women who are going through STEM so that they don't have to feel like they're the only ones there and they're being judged and have that extra hurdle, and all of that stuff is great because you've been through it. It's not just like some cause that you think is nice but you don't have a personal connection to, right? That's really important, right? That you have a personal tie, that you've been through it yourself, and so that when you're, if you win Miss World America and now you're dealing with these media, podcasts, interviews, but also the individual groups. It's like you can go in and say, I'm one of you, right? I can't do that, right? I'm not a woman in STEM. So I can have empathy, I can lend support, I can try to shine a light, but I can't ever pretend to know what it's like to be a woman in STEM, right? You can because you've been through it. So your story is awesome, a part of it. But the macro of like, how is this a big deal? Like, how big a deal is this? Yeah. Why does it matter?
Yeah, so I think an anecdotal piece of evidence that we can all kind of relate to happens to be with smartphones and touchscreen technology. Okay. So when smartphones were actually first being developed, women had a hard time using the touchscreen because male engineers didn't anticipate acrylic nails or women having acrylic nails, or honestly people having acrylic nails. It doesn't matter the gender. So if women were on that team, they could have avoided that in the first place, and they could have spent time, money, and resources on better development instead of having to go back and redesign, a touchscreen module that we're all so familiar with now.
Yeah, I like it. And did I talk about the Mary Kay Ash story when I was doing the live training?
Yeah, with Martin Luther King and Star Trek.
That's another one. But Mary Kay Ash from Mary Kay Cosmetics, did I talk about that one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on women in tech just because that was an example given. That she was being overlooked for promotions and being overlooked in meetings because she was a woman, and finally she just had enough and said, no, I'm going to start my own company. And even then she had struggles because she was a woman with lawyers and whatever.
Yeah, great. Well, she was invited to join the board of one of the companies, and they shut down every one of her ideas, and they said, oh, Mary Kay, you're just thinking like a woman. She was the only woman on the board and just got shut down. And it takes a really strong character to stand up again and again and again and again and again in the face of this constant like rejection and beating down and stereotypes, to just keep going. Like most people would quit. So I like the anecdotal. I think you still need to have a sense of how big this is. I think we need to have some kind of numbers or data to show that this is a big deal. Yeah. Right. So just like the forest fires outside, you haven't seen the sun in however many, 10 days or whatever. Yeah. You could show me that it's gray outside, and you could tell me your experience of being isolated and maybe lonely or depressed or whatever. But to say X number of people are impacted and how many houses have burned down, and like to make me feel this is a big problem, right? Yeah. Because I don't think anybody's going to say STEM isn't a problem, like women in STEM isn't a problem. They're not going to, I mean, there might be some people, but most people wouldn't say women in STEM is not a problem. And the people you're going to be, the judges, the people you're going to be presenting to, working with, trying to convince, they're not going to say women in STEM is a non-issue. But how big an issue is it compared to somebody else's cause, right? Like, there's somebody here is trying to save the puppies. Why should we care about women in STEM as being more important and more valid? And it's not putting down any other cause. It's just elevating yours. Everybody you're going to be pitching to will have a conscious, part of them. That's why they're judging. That's why they're part of it. But it's your job to make women in STEM maybe not be their number one thing that they care about, but it's got to be like, you want to put it into their top 5. Yeah, like, ooh, that wasn't even on my radar before, but holy cow. But now it is. Yeah, what a big deal this is. We should give her the spotlight. We should give her the microphone. We should say she's the one who's going to be leading the charge. So you may not know the answer right now, or maybe you do, but some kind of stats to show like how big a deal this actually is and how much it's impacting America, but also the world.
Yeah, this could definitely be a global initiative.
Okay.
So, I mean, for the United States, I know that STEM industry is roughly 25 to 30% female, with different disciplines like mechanical engineering, physics, and computer science at or less than 10% female.
Wow.
So,
So
yeah.
that's a great start. Now,
hmm
now, why does that matter? Like, why do we need to get that number from 10% to 30% or 40% or whatever,
hmm
the target is? Like, why does it matter? Beyond
Yeah.
just like anecdotal, like touchscreen, which is great. That's a great example. But
hmm
showing examples of, hey, when women are involved, it led to this,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
Or number of girls who go to school and want to be engineers, but then never do, right? Like, and I don't know the data. I'm just, pulling
Yeah.
numbers, but like half of girls who want to go to school, who are in high school, want to go into STEM, but
Yeah.
then only 15% of them do
Yeah, because the
because of,
talent is there. The
yeah,
talent is there, but there's some disconnect that's happening around the age of like 15, 16. That somehow women aren't getting involved, girls aren't getting involved, they're not being supported enough. And we need to figure out where that disconnect is.
yeah. But that's what you need to come
Yeah.
to the table with. And it's fine. Like, this is the
hmm
practice. This is the warm up. But
Yeah.
that's where judges might ask, well, like, what happens at age 15 or 18 or, whatever it is where we're having a
Yeah.
disconnect? Why are women not taking the next step? And then it
hmm
becomes, okay, well, what's your solution?
Yeah.
The solution is, well, we need a Miss World America who's in STEM, who's studied, who's in
Yeah.
engineering. The solution is we need to have more role models. The solution is we need to have better training, like whatever your actual
Yeah.
solution is. But understanding what the problem is
hmm
and being able to clearly articulate that to the judges will be important to
Okay.
getting them on board. Because again, nobody's going to come and say that's a stupid cause.
Yeah.
But is it as important a cause as some of the other people who are presenting,
hmm
right?
Okay. hmm
It's like the last contestant I had on was talking about, domestic violence, and she was
Yeah.
a victim of domestic violence, and she went through it,
hmm
and she wants to solve it, for America and for the world. So why women in STEM over domestic violence, right? And that's not a question going to be asked,
hmm
right? Like why
Yeah.
not focus on domestic violence? But that's what they have to weigh in their head. Like, whose cause do
Yeah.
we feel
But
is more important? And is this contestant the person, the woman to
yeah.
take us and actually solve the problem?
Often I see questions in interviews like, why are you the best fit for the job? Like, why are you the best fit for the title holder? And I think having a woman in STEM in a leadership role that isn't STEM related is really important, because I think a lot of times women in STEM are put into this box where suddenly their job or their career is their entire identity. But we're multifaceted people too. We have other interests. I'm a pianist. I love to read, and I just want to show people that I can be a strong woman in STEM who's had to make some tough decisions about changing her career, but I can also find success in other ways.
And why switch out from STEM to nursing?
Mm-hmm. So I switched from engineering to nursing, both in the STEM fields.
Okay.
I was actually really, really unhappy with the job I was doing. So going back to kind of your whole life motto is built to serve.
Mm-hmm.
I went into engineering to help people. Like, that's how I felt I could help people best. And when I got into the job, like, I was working into this huge manufacturing facility making micro breakers for home and office. That wasn't how I pictured using my skills in math and science to help people. And after some soul searching, I guess, I landed on nursing, which is a very personal way to help people, and you're a liaison in the medical field between patients and doctors, and really helping people be comfortable with, honestly, sometimes the scariest moment of their life, being stuck in a hospital.
Yeah. Was there a moment that you decided this is just not for me, this engineering thing?
I don't know if there was a clear moment, but there was definitely weeks leading up to the time where I was just like, I just need to leave. Like this isn't right for me. I need to find something else. Like I need to get a retail job in the meantime to support myself because I can't go on doing this.
So you didn't even have the nursing thing to go to. You just
Hmm.
took a job
Yeah,
at
like
what, like Home Depot or something to take a job and
yeah, I took a job at a produce stand in the
okay.
meantime. Yeah. Yeah, so and through that and honestly conversing with people and talking with people and there was a woman at the gym that I joined who's a nurse practitioner
Okay.
and she really helped me kind of find a path, help find a path and help me get on a timeline and start me on this journey to becoming a nurse.
Do you think if you had a better support system inside the engineering company that it'd look different, or it's just you didn't enjoy the work?
Yeah, I actually do think it would look a lot different if I had a different support system. I was a member of Society of Women Engineers for a while, and that's a great resource for women engineers. But even in my own chapter that I was a part of, I was still the only mechanical engineer. So when talks of jobs came up or classes came up, I would sit there alone and be like, "Oh, you don't have to take this really advanced manufacturing class with this professor that's brand new." Oh, okay. So I'd sit there in the corner again. And if I had that support system, I think I would have probably been more confident in myself to maybe stay in engineering, but do something in engineering that I preferred, like find a different job within engineering instead of leave it altogether.
So then,
Because I have the skill, I have the talent.
right. Well, and the heart too to try to make an
Yeah.
impact and a difference, right? I mean, that's why you got into
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
which is fantastic. A lot of people get into engineering just because they think they can make a lot of money, or because that's what
Yeah.
their parents did, or something, right? Without really
Hmm.
even caring about the work they're doing or the people. So, what is the solution? Is it like um, how do you prevent other Emilys from getting into mechanical engineering
Yeah.
or any of the niche ones, and not feeling
Hmm.
isolated, lonely, with no system?
Yeah, I think part of it, I've kind of in my head developed a multi-step solution. And I think a lot of it has to do with representation. Like representation matters, and I think on a basic level, we all understand that. When I was growing up, I didn't really have a lot of women in STEM to look up to, so I turned to fictional characters. Like this might be a little bit embarrassing to
Yeah,
admit, but
yeah, like
I
Wonder
was
Woman or who?
obsessed. Like I was obsessed with the TV show Bones in high school.
Bones?
Like, yeah,
Okay,
have you ever heard of
never even
it?
heard of it. No.
Okay, so the main character is this uh, anthropologist named Temperance Brennan, and she's this scientist to the core, and like I emulated her.
Okay.
I emulated her, and like that's what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be a scientist like her.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's really important that we have not only fictional characters to look up to, but real life role models. And
So,
then,
so what are the multiple things that you said you had a multiple stage plan or whatever? Like, what are the 3 to 5
yeah,
things? How many things are there that, like, in buckets?
yeah. So I have like four buckets that I really want to pour into, and one of them is the representation.
Okay.
The second one is organizations that provide opportunity and support. So, like Society of Women Engineers, like Girls Who Code, like Girls Inc.
Yeah.
To really be able to connect with them while they're young and keep mentoring them,
Yeah.
while keep mentoring girls and women as they grow up into high school, college, or even in their careers to keep that system of support going. The third one is funding, which is often the hardest part because a lot of people are like, well, I'm already tight on money or I don't have any more resources to give to this. But being able to make sure that we're able to afford the higher education needed for a lot of STEM careers. And when it comes to the graduate level, research projects, funding
Okay.
for research. And then the last one is encouraging everybody to get involved in science. So there's programs called citizen science projects where anybody can get involved in sometimes some really groundbreaking research. So it's a fun way to maybe connect with your family and get involved in STEM yourself. Oftentimes you just need the camera phone or the camera on your phone to get
Yeah.
involved. So,
So what I would do is, I like it. I like that you thought it out. You've got a plan.
mhm,
When you're asked about it, I would say, well,
mhm,
there's four things that we need to do.
mhm.
Say the four things and just one sentence on each, and then just
Okay.
see where they want to go deeper into. And
Okay.
depending on who you're talking to, they're going to pull on different things. Somebody might pull on
Hmm.
representation, somebody might pull on funding, and you've got answers for each. It's not like you haven't thought about it and it's just super surface level. You've got deep
Yeah.
answers for each. But when I asked you about it, you said, well, I've got a bunch of ideas. And then you started going down representation super hard
Hmm. Yeah.
without talking about the other one. So at the top, you lay out the plan. There's four things we need to do to solve this problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? One sentence on each.
Okay.
And then you see what they want. It's just the presentation. Then see what they want to, what's their next follow-up question? The next 15 minutes
Mhm.
might just be all about funding.
Yeah.
And they forgot the other ones, and that's fine because that's what they care about. Like
Hmm.
everybody who you talk to will have their own interests, desires, line of questioning. But to show that
Hmm.
you've thought it all out
Yeah.
is really important before diving in on anyone specifically.
Yeah. And so you think it's okay with an interview that's only 10 minutes long to just stay focused on one of those aspects?
No, let them pick. Like the beauty
Yeah, let them
of the
pick.
you've already done the video, right?
Hmm.
Right. So the next is the head to head, right? Where you're actually going to be
Yeah.
talking with somebody.
So
You let them
then
pick. 'Cause-
the interview with the panel
right. Okay.
of
So
judges.
you in the way this just went, you picked one and you started going deep on it. And then I said, well,
Yeah.
what are the other ones that, because you said you had a plan. So how many are there? There are 3, are there 5?
Yeah.
And then you said there were 4. So what you want to do is say the 4 things. At some point, they're going to say, well, what's the solution? It's like, well,
Yeah.
there's 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let them decide. Because it's not, if it was just a video where you can't interact with people, you have to make a judgment call as to what you think they're going to care about. Here,
Hmm.
they're going to tell you what they care about because they're going to
Okay.
ask you a question to follow up. So you say the 4 points, and with each one, just that one sentence, just so that I understand what that means. I mean, I understand what funding
Okay.
means, but funding where? Like funding for postgraduate, funding for, right? When you say representation, right? So I don't need to know the whole story yet about the bones anthropologist, scientist that inspired you, but you've got it ready. If they really care about representation, you've got this whole arc that you can then go down and tell a really personal story. So they'll tell you in their questions. The same thing with TV or radio or any blogs or vlogs that you end up doing or blog posts or anything. When people are doing interviews with you, they'll let you know what they care the most about, and you just
Okay.
make sure you have stories to share for each of the 4.
Okay.
Which I'm
Okay.
sure you do. Like, I'm sure you thought this out, and for each one, if we wanted to talk for 2 hours about funding, I'm sure you have
We
enough
could.
content and ideas to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never know for the judges what they're going to actually care about. I mean, it's good that you've got, it's not just the elevator pitch 30 seconds, that you've actually got 10 minutes to talk to them. So with each one, you give, a couple sentence answer and then see what they ask next, right? You don't want to just be talking for 5 minutes, telling a story, and then wait for them to, because then you're not involving them in the play. So I think you've got a great story. I think you've got a great heart. I think people can relate to what you're going through. I think you've got the answers and detailed, solutions for each one. I think it's just that top part of figuring out, well, why this cause over something else? How big a deal is this? How many women are not doing it who wanted to, but they left? Like, even you, if you left engineering because of this, somebody with tons of heart and energy, like, how many women are leaving because they don't feel that they could do this? And then what does that mean to the economy, to humanity, to the world? Some numbers to make it just feel like this is you have to pay attention to this. This isn't just something that's happening to a few women. Like, this is a big deal. You have to wake up and pay attention.
Yeah.
Because after that, you've got the rest of it figured out.
Okay.
It's just that top piece of, like, why should we care of this instead of puppies or domestic violence or the COVID or the rainforest or the wildfires, because there's so many great causes.
There are.
There are, and you're not trying to put any cause down. You're just trying to elevate
No.
yours and say, no, women in STEM is one of the top 3 things you have to be paying attention to right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm excited.
Awesome.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank you so much.
I hope you feel a little bit better. I know it's kind of depressing and sad with everything going on there and the smokes and all that, but I appreciate you showing up honestly, authentically, and even how you led that, I think was really beautiful, instead of only just trying to be perfect all the time. And I think people will really connect with you, and I'm super excited to follow you in your journey.
Thank you so much.
Cool. All right. Good luck. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.